Let's look at the scope and sequence for second grade. Here you have that link to the second grade full scope and sequence. I'm mainly going to be talking about Unit 1. So if we look at Unit 1, we have foundations listed first. We have the pacing guide that matches what you saw in your year at a glance, and your skills and standards for your foundation block, and the instructional materials. You have your five 5-day lessons that are listed out here. Remember, you have that 6th flexible week where you can flex and reteach or front load or extend a lesson so that you can get kids to mastery. These are the skills that the kids are expected to mastery. Any high frequency words, those in red are those heart words or words that kids need to know by heart because those words do not follow patterns that they have previously been taught. Then here is the morphology focus, so if you're working with any prefixes or suffixes, you'll see them appear here. There are other skills then that are done all the time during all of these 5-day lessons to be able to get kids to have that foundational knowledge with reading. We also have then what is being done with wonders. So here you have your pacing guide. You'll see your DWSBA listed. You'll see your standards and your skills. So your standards are reading, literature, reading information, commonly known as RL/RI, language, writing, speaking, and listening. And then you have, these are the skills that come straight from wonders. At the end of the unit, you have what kids should be able to do. And so here, this is an end of unit competency showing what kids, if they've done all these skills, should be able to do for you. So here is what's called the language functions and features. So if kids are narrating with sequence of events, they should be able to use words like beginning, in the middle, at the end. They should be able to think about characters because it's a narration. They should be able to use prepositional phrases like then or any other adverbials, one day. They should also be able to have statements to introduce the problem. So here are some examples of what that might be to introduce or tell about the problem. The key language use for these functions and features is to be able to narrate. So here we have these 3 components talking about what's being listed for in Wonders that talks about language, reading, and writing. Here you have that in the next portion talking about text set 1 in Wonders. What's the vocabulary and essential question? So you have vocabulary across here, essential question. Here are the 4 reads and what's being done in writing. So here you have a personal narrative, and here you have your lexiles listed. There's not a lexile here because it's a listening piece, because it's the interactive read aloud. There's a new piece that you haven't seen in a map yet, and that is this portion here for special education. And it's grayed out because as a classroom teacher for general ed, you don't need to worry about it as far as teaching it, but you want to know about it because if your students are going to special education, these are the things that they will be learning. So in writing, they're going to be learning about topic sentence, which will really help you with those components. If they're in their leveled readers, which are used as their main selection, they're learning about families and music, which also goes along with these pieces about families that you've been talking about. Then in the shared read, it is Maria Celebrates Brazil. Here too, it's Maria Celebrates Brazil. This is a lower lexile, and because it's a lower lexile, in the shared read for special ed in WonderWorks, kids are able to talk about, do, and comprehend the same text in Maria, with Maria Celebrates Brazil, even though you're talking about it here at a 460. Theirs is going to be a lower lexile so that kids can access those same ideas and use the same content. So here, this is where you're seeing that curriculum coherence with vocabulary, essential questions, and what those components might be. So if your kids are going to special education, it's guaranteed the same skills and standards are being taught. There's also this component here, and this may or may not be filled out yet, depending on where we are in that sequence. But if you have this, there's a skill building for kids who can't access text, what it might be. And there's also some extensions that have been mapped in for you, as well as what might help you with science and social studies. And we have arts that is coming soon too. So all of this will be filled out for you if it isn't already. And that skill building piece should be ready by June 1st. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're accessing this before June 1st, know that that will be there before you want to download this document. So here is that next part of the scope and sequence. So I want you now to turn to your learning task notebook. I want you to look at Unit 2 in the document that was provided for you with the scope and sequence. It's kind of got that goldenrod color. I want you to identify and write in your learning task notebook, what is the end of unit competency for Unit 2? What are your three anchor texts for Unit 2? And which text aligns for Special Ed WonderWorks for Unit 2? And then also name one extension. So look through that, see if you can read it for Unit 2, and write those things down in your learning task notebook.